Okay, everyone, I want to make sure I'm doing this weekly for wealthyfantasyfootball.com blog and looking at the best lineup for Fanduel this particular week, week 13. And we'll go into the NFL Sunday Fanduel Million contest. Just get a brief overview of it and what it is. First is 250,000, so you can bring that home in six figures in one day. So great. And the lineup here all laid out just for the $7 entry. So we'll go ahead and though dive into who are looking like some value plays and try to sort out. As to me, it's sort of early in the week since this does not start on Thursday, but rather just Sunday, and it's Wednesday night, about 10 p.m. here Eastern time. So just wanted to make you aware of that and how it's looking like right here. 3 days and 15 hours and some minutes to go. So here we got some questions already with the top players, with some injuries with Brady and Jones going on. Already some early concerns there, so we'll have to see about that as we go along. Of course, nothing we can do about that right now, but we're looking to see here the most expensive players overview is Brady, Gurley, Fournette up there, and Jones and so on as the most expensive, right? So we'll take a look at all those deciding factors, but we're going to look at some matchups to start with, as we have to. I'm already on NFL, but I know I got some watch players I need to get rid of here that I usually keep track of weekly, but I clear this out every week because I don't want to watch the same players from last week. I just don't. So I want to put last week out of memory and do much better this week, as in the case of many people, of course, and start to evaluate with the position optimizer. Well, let's look at first the top plays of the week on FanDuel, as this is set for FanDuel. So we got the computer coming out with, per their system here, Kirk Cousins, LaShawn McCoy, and so on. If I want to just get strictly pure on the matchup basis here against the position, we're looking at some of the better highlights of the week. Devontae Adams, only 6,500, along with Randall Cobb. I know he got a touchdown last week. Jordan Howard, who was a flop last week, but he might have an easier, better matchup against San Francisco, of course. Mitch Trubisky, I did write about him, I believe. Actually, no, that went out to my email list about him coming up as a good play this week. And then so on here. Derek Carr, Robbie Anderson, I believe scored like 7 straight weeks or something, touchdown every week. So we can keep on looking at him. And something's going on with Curse's status, questionable. As you can see, everything's updated there on this site. So Mike Evans is hard to trust. There's 2 offensive linemen who are out for the year for the Buccaneers. Things aren't looking good there. Marcus Mariota, he's not doing as well as I like. Even though his last 5 games, scored about 10, almost 19. Not bad if we can look at him if we want. But I like to think of him as being better with Rashard Matthews. So just looking at that, considering what I think. And Jamison Crowder is a pretty good play this week as well. I'm going to go ahead and watch some of these guys for the week. Okay, so that was just to get us a starting point in which guys. Oh, I was thinking about this guy, Westbrook. He got a lot of targets last week, and as you can see here, the targets are listed out 10 last week. So as a sleeper option, he'll be a good fit when we try to jammed a lot of good high-priced players in and put him in as a punt play. So I like him. What else did I just see down here? Devontae Booker. He got 2 targets and only 6 rushes last week. He's kind of a bust. This I like. Against Geno Smith, we're going to look at Oakland's defense. So try to go according to somewhat our gut and what we think on some of these things, because not every week can you just go by matchups like this and just put these players in. It doesn't work that way, of course. So Matthew sat out the previous game due to a hamstring injury, and it is uncertain if he will play Sunday. Okay, well, so as we get some idea of that, we can go to next. Let's change the slate for what we need. Which one? The main 14-game slate, right? Okay. Now let's just verify that that's what this is. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games, yep. So we're on the exact same gathering process of information we need on this site. So I'll leave the link which will include a consistency fantasy value free report that you can look at along with that, and then it'll offer you the draft dashboard just for $1, just so you know what's going on with that. All right, so we're going to look at the position optimizer. We'll just get a general idea next of the price and value of some of these guys, which will help us tremendously, actually. That's actually fantasy points per game. We could order that up, but we're going to order up according to salary. And anybody that we're going to go ahead and watch next we're going to make sure they're going to have fantasy points and are getting targets and or rushes per game average is what all this information is showing right here, as it's just highlighting. So just waiting for this to sort out. I'm going to get a drink of water. Okay, so this is right now an order of salaries from Brady on down to Wilson, Breeze, and so on. And as you see here, Wilson has a tougher matchup versus Philadelphia, obviously, as they rank very high in that category. And as well as Buffalo, defensive total rank 14, but versus the quarterback even better, 7th. So obviously we're going to find some better plays, as I mentioned. Guys in the 3rd tier, like Trubisky, for example. As far as anybody really that's in 2nd tier that we may want to consider, Cam, I don't know about his availability. Well, we'll confirm that, of course. That happens every week. But the first guy that's really in the 2nd tier to consider is Rivers, along with Goff. As we can see here, they have some of the better matchups, 20th and 25th ranked, and as well as Goff, 19th and 29th ranked. So we'll look at these guys, of course, and Goff is getting 17.7 a game on Fanduel, and Rivers is very comparable at 17.1. So we're going to watch both of these guys, right? We can even get an idea right here, the percentage owned of normally, like in normal standard fantasy leagues, such as Yahoo and places like that. 73%, 0.7, and then 63, a little bit lower for Goff. So if that's any indication, it may help a little bit on FanDuel. And then here's dropping down to Josh McCown, as he's a decent value here. Also, going to check him. So there's a number of quarterbacks we can obviously look at here. Alex Smith is always in the top 5 most weeks, so we could very well look at him, along with Bortles, Mariota, Tyrod Taylor. Obviously, there's a lot of quarterbacks to choose from this week. We could even go as low as mentioned Trubisky, or even, if you wanted to risk it, Brent Hundley, but I don't advise it. Trevor Siemian, we're not going to mess with that, okay? Moving on, running backs. Just remember, this is the same information that you'll find all the salaries and everything on Fanduel. So next we have, got to make sure this is in order. Salaries, yes it is. So looking at the best values on a salary basis, Gurley is okay, but he's the most expensive, right? We want to kind of get away from that. Leonard Fournette, he gets carries. He even gets a few targets per game. That's good. 23, 24 touches a game. That's comparable to the best in the game right now. So, and his matchup is really good here. So let's get him watched. Along with McCoy, who I consider higher risk but cheaper. So we could look at him. We can still consider him one of the best. Melvin Gordon as well. We could take that into consideration. I was wondering, where's our guy, the Saints guy? I'm trying to think. Kamara. Here he is down here. 8,500. This is not an order of salary. I apologize. Let's see. Gurley, yeah. Just as I suspected, Kamara's one of the more expensive, pretty expensive backs this week. So his matchup is not favorable versus Carolina, so I wouldn't bother really trying to jam him in anywhere. So, but the players we talked about are looking pretty good so far. Hyde is kind of a sleeper. He's underrated, and he gets touches per game over 20, so he's fine. Hunt, I don't trust anymore. And then we're looking at guys that are going to provide a general upside. I'm going to provide more information on this as far as which of these guys, as a numbers factor, has variance and upside. So which guys basically can provide you a tournament win if you just stick one or two guys into a lineup with other consistent guys. You increase your chances of actually getting a positive, at least profitability in a tournament such as like that we are looking at on Fanduel. And so I'm going to provide that information there by the end of the week, by like Friday night, to give you a glimpse of what this is and how I'm going to provide these numbers to you actually. And that's free on the wealthyfantasyfootball.com. So looking at all that, but just going to keep moving on to give you an idea of this week's best play at wide receivers. And we'll just get into tight ends for a moment as well. What I like to do here is actually really just look at the targets and see which guys with the most targets have good matchups. Let's see. Hopkins is playing at Tennessee, and he's got averaging 17 points per game. He's well worth it. And I'm just curious about Julio Jones. He's now 8,600 compared to 8,000. So Hopkins is really a bargain price, and the matchup is good versus Tennessee. So look out for him this week. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback, he gets his points. Keenan Allen is definitely in the top 10. I don't think this matters. 9th ranked opponent because they're a 20th ranked defense. So look at that difference. You're still playing a weak defense and a weak team. So Keenan Allen, you're watched. We already talked about some of these guys like Mike Evans. I'd rather play Adam Thielen if I had to do that. But Devontae Adams, we already watched. Just looking for some interesting matchups other than what we talked about already. I like Doug Baldwin, kind of, but it's not a great matchup if I was to play Russell Wilson to stack. I like Funches, but he's got some issues here. Really, I'm just kind of looking for guys to stack with some of those quarterbacks we mentioned we're watching, such as Tyreek Hill. He's in play. Robbie Anderson, of course. Looking at Cooper Kupp. He did really good last week. He was in probably the perfect lineup. Okay. So that gives you a good idea there, right? And then tight end for this week, week 13. Going to look at value in terms of price here. Just to make sure that's ordered up correctly. Of course, Gronk, no surprise there. Ertz has been most consistent throughout the year. Good value. Kelsey, good matchup versus the Jets. Some people don't like it, but it's a good matchup. Delaney Walker again this week. So we got our obvious starts. As far as anyone else, you're just taking a flyer on whoever, such as Julius Thomas with a really good matchup versus the tight ends. Denver does not do well this year. That's interesting. But that's really about it. That's all I see there. So that gives you a really good idea of some of the value plays. As if you want to look at defense real quick. As I mentioned, I like the Raiders. Let me see how they show the stack up here. Jaguars always good. Chargers good. At home as well. Got some nice defenses this week. Where are those Raiders? At home. This doesn't factor in, of course, the conditions of the quarterback and the Giants in that situation. So just keep that in mind when you look at these value rankings. So we've got a few options right there to look at. And so just keep going. And the best advice is to not, keep up with consistent fantasy numbers, as I talked about on wealthyfantasyfootball.com, but also to go with the information as far as what you have with your gut to try to see which players may have a breakout game or something like that coming up this week. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot for watching.